83-inch LG G5 is here, and it's my own personal TV. Up next. Woo!
I've seen things people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for joining me. This video is a little different than my other videos, as this TV is my own personal TV. It's my own personal purchase, and I want to give you more of the consumer aspect or perspective in this video. Why did I choose the G5 now? Why not wait till the end of the year? Why didn't I get the G4? And why would I get the G5 now when TVs like the RGB mini LEDs are just around the corner? All of this and more. Now, the LG G5 at 83 has been unboxed. It's in the other room. The plastic is still on the screen. So we'll be going through this journey together. I'll be telling you what I love about it, also why I chose it over everything else, and some of the shortcomings like not having a stand and having to get an aftermarket stand. Without further ado, let's check out my very own LG G5 at 83 inches. Thank you so much for watching. All right, guys, let's do it. LG G5, 83 inches. This is the alpha OLED of the world right now. Here's the Sanus stand, aftermarket stand. There's the model number, as the G5 doesn't ship with a stand at 77 or 83. The stand is excellent, very heavy duty, and very easy to use and assemble. You'll see it throughout the video. Now we'll do a little unboxing and we'll just talk in the background while we do the unboxing. It'll be very quick, just so you know what to expect when buying something as premium as the G5, especially the 83 inch. Again, it doesn't ship with a tabletop stand. It ships with the gapless wall mount, which is excellent. That would be the first drawback for me, is you really should have a stand regardless of if you have a gapless wall mount or not. I'd rather have it be the other way around, where you purchase the wall mount aftermarket instead of the stand. But very heavy duty, beautiful design. I've seen the stand in action since they introduced it a few years ago, and it works amazingly in keeping the G5 flush against the wall. Now this will be a long video, as I'm going to share all of my experiences with it. Here is the new remote. Another part that I'm not fond of. We'll get into it a little bit later. It's a redesign. They removed the buttons, they removed the input button, as well as the information buttons, where you can actually double tap the green button to see your FPS in gaming. Talk about that a little bit later. I love the design of the G5. The back is metal. That's where you would put your wall mount. You have the logo in the back. The TV is very heavy, beautiful design. There's your 4 HDMI 2.1 inputs, capable of 4K 165. A very beautiful TV. Love how premium it feels. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the silver bezel. I like some of the bezels that you'll see on TVs where they're darker silver. It is very small, and as you can see, it is glossy for those of you that are concerned. Though it does have an excellent anti-glare in terms of its capabilities of reflection handling, there is the back of the Sanus wall mount already attached to the G5. And I want to show you the whole experience about where this TV will live for the next few months. So in my studio right there, you'll see several TVs. And there is my 83-inch A80L. Now I'm showing you this because that seating distance for an 83-inch TV is probably still pretty far away, about 12 or 13 feet. Now the G5 isn't going to go there. It's going to live here, as you see. Beautiful small bezel. The silver bezel, and there's the Sanus stand, which I do love the way it looks. I don't love how far back it has to be. You can actually change the height on the stand. And there is the back of the G5. Now that small bezel, I don't love silver bezels in general. It's distracting to many of you. It doesn't bother me at all in both daytime and nighttime viewing, but for some of you, it is a problem. Now I love the design of this stand. Again, it doesn't move at all in terms of back and forth, and you have a screw on the side where you can change and make it more level. You have a very heavy-duty power cord. It is not detachable. It is infused within. But it's much thicker than a lot of other power cords, even on other 85-inch TVs and 83-inch TVs out there. Now the setup is your typical setup of WebOS. We can go right past that and get right into the image quality. Now again, this is going to be a very long video, about 30 minutes. This has been my time with this specific G5. I've seen several at Value Electronics where I purchased the LG G5. Our favorite part of taking the sticker off. Now I've spent time with several 77 inches and several 83 inches. Just to give you context that this is one of probably about 9 G5s I've seen. 55 and 65 aren't available right now. The minute you put it on, it's jaw-dropping. Now it no longer ships in standard, it ships in its auto power save mode. You will have to go into your eco settings and disable all of that, but right out of the box, the vibrancy and color is unmatched. Absolutely gorgeous image quality on the LG G5. Now the reason this video is going to be very long is nothing is perfect and the G5 is far from perfect. And we're going to go into some of its drawbacks later on in the video, as far as the issues coming out of black and some of the dithering that I've seen in my own filming. But I'll tell you, in most of the images and demos you're seeing and in the movies I've watched in my own time, I haven't had any real problems. Now the intro, my excitement in the intro, I shot that before actually filming the TV. I try to keep that organic. But my excitement is genuine. Spending time with an OLED this bright, even after the G4 and the QD OLEDs that I've experienced throughout the years, I literally had more time saying wow with my time with the G5. Just sitting here and just blown away by we're having OLEDs this bright now and this colorful. And I can pretty much say that chasing brightness after the G5 makes very little sense to me. It's not something I would even chase anymore. The HDR impact and the brightness on the G5 beats everything that I've seen this year, including quantum dot OLEDs. And I have one to my right, which I'll show you in a little bit. The S90F is there. Spent a lot of time with the S95F and the Bravia 8 Mark II. The G5 has the most HDR impact by a lot, in my opinion. That said, there's times where it's actually too bright. And I don't mean it's too bright as it washes out the image, it just doesn't feel necessary. I'll show you the presets shortly, but cinema is much brighter than standard. And I found that odd. I found that it was overly bright, more than it needed to be, like it was flexing just to say, hey, I can get that bright. Which is why using Jennifer's footage that you'll see here, 5,000 nits, 10,000 nits, really shows what the G5 is capable of. Now I'm sure those presets will be tuned even further as the year goes on. It's the way of technology, things get changed with updates. But there's definitely some work to do on the G5. Even with all this amazing footage, Most times I saw very little issues coming out of black in terms of dithering. There was definitely no raised blacks, but that dithering that was repaired to some degree earlier upon release is still there in certain shots, which I will compare with the same footage later on in the video with the S90F QD OLED. The G5 is absolutely gorgeous. So bright, so vibrant, and so colorful. There are times where it looks like the best mini LED you've ever seen if you remind yourself that it's an OLED, if it wasn't for the deep contrast ratio and micro contrast. Now going through the presets, again, we're here at cinema. Check out the brightness and how vibrant cinema and home are. Now it chips in auto power save mode, which is still very bright and actually looks just like standard. But I'll switch back and forth just to see the flexibility of image, which I think is very important with any TV you buy. Now, the filmmaker mode is bright enough where you can literally leave it in that and just be fine. Reminds me very much of Sony that way, where Sony's custom preset or now their professional preset is so good you can just leave it in that. The G5 is the same way. If you put it into filmmaker, you're good. It's got that kind of impact. Cinema Home, very bright, but I love the flexibility of image. The colors pop, the motion is excellent, really beautiful. But there were so many times in my viewing that I'm there at the studio all times of day and night, and a lot of this footage you're seeing with a pretty bright room actually, lights on behind me. But so many of those moments of damn, wow, whoa, wow, okay. I just never thought we'd be sitting in front of OLEDs that are at this level. You know, whether it was the G4 with micro lens array or now the G5 with the tandem OLED 4 stack. I mean, it's an amazing time to enjoy OLEDs. And it couldn't come at a better time with RGB mini LEDs on the way and the blue OLEDs on the way. Which leads me into the next part of my conversation. I wanted to share with you my reasoning for buying the G5 and buying it now. Not as a tech reviewer, but as a consumer. Why was this the right time to buy for me? Now, before I get into that, I want to give a very special shout out to the one and only Jennifer Gala and her second channel, HDR Super Channel, for all of the amazing content you're seeing within this video. About 95% of it is from Jen and her second channel, HDR Super Channel. Check the link below for links to both of her channels and consider becoming a Patreon to her main channel and download all of these demos in full Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. Now you can see even as I move through the content and go from very accurate presets, cinema home to filmmaker, the vibrancy, the pop, the HDR impact is still present. Even filmmaker, as I mentioned, still has that pop and beauty. It's not as drab as it once was, though LG has one of the best filmmaker modes in the business. You can literally see even, and I have the personalized picture wizard, I've used that. You can literally see the TV is so bright, even with the exposure down, it's still hard to capture the menu and the image at the same time. Never had that problem with OLEDs before when filming them. But you can still see the brightness and the saturation even in the more accurate filmmaker preset. Now, I want to get into the consumer perspective of buying the G5 now. More importantly, why didn't I buy the G4 at 83 inches? Many of you criticized the fact that I love that TV the entire year. I posted that as a TV that I wanted to buy, even though I had bought the A80L the year before. Now the A80L, while I showed it to you in the video, is a studio TV. It will live here. The G4 and now the G5 would be replacing my LG C1. So think about that in terms of a consumer. C1, G5, that to me is a reasonable time to upgrade. Now, I love the G4, especially at 83. The reason I didn't purchase it was very simple. I got very busy like many of you guys, but being a TV reviewer, we have very little time to enjoy our own TVs and sound systems. So by the time it was able to be available to me, the 83 inch, It was really too close to CES. Then there was a lot of rumblings about micro lens array disappearing and being replaced with something else. So like a true consumer, I thought it would be better to wait. Though the G4 is excellent, I've done comparisons between the 83-inch G4 and the 77-inch G5. I'm glad I waited, but that's a game you can play each and every year. Also, I believe the future of television technology are these RGB mini LEDs. Now, though you have Samsung releasing theirs this year, and Sony perhaps releasing theirs last year, Hisense will have theirs out this year as well, that's not something I'll be looking to purchase for at least 2 years, giving me the runtime as a consumer of about 3 years to enjoy the G5. As far as blue OLEDs, things of that nature, even if they come from LG, they will not be available at this size or even this price point for many, many years. Now for the content you're seeing on scene, the G5 does have that three-dimensionality in this shot especially that I mentioned that the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II has. It does have that extra pop with the Alpha 11 processor. The image is very 3D and beautiful. And as you see here, no issues with the motion right out of the box. And for many of you, this choice of buying this big of an investment, about $6,000 for an 83-inch TV, you'll be living with it for about 5 years. For me, it's closer to 3, but as I mentioned, I was waiting for a huge upgrade from my C1, and this is it. The C1 was an excellent TV, loved it, gamed on it, enjoyed it, but I always wanted a brighter OLED with more HDR impact, and that's what I see here with the G5. I didn't feel ABSL, I didn't feel the TV dimming on me at all, but that was better and fixed with the G4. Now I didn't see any tinting or pink tinting or anything like that we saw in the Evo panels with the G3. And even the shots you're seeing here coming out of black, the blacks are excellent. They are very deep, they are not raised at all. Now you're seeing me film the G5 in my studio, which is where I'm doing my audio, which is why I'm a little bit more echoey. I'm gonna turn the lights on, and you can see that the silver bezel is something you may notice, but doesn't bother me at all. These are important details. The remote, build quality, a lot of this stuff is very important to many of you. The build quality is excellent. The audio is actually pretty good for an OLED this thin. To have pure whites on an OLED is amazing. And now in this next shot coming out of black, there are no issues in this specific shot. I also purchased the G5 at Value Electronics. A special shout out to Robert and Wendy Zahn of Value Electronics. Please consider making your next AV purchase through them. Check the description below for all their information. Let them know that I sent you. They'll take amazing care of you. I also purchased the aftermarket stand there as well. The Santa stand. There are many different models of it. This is the one that I'm using on the 83-inch G5. Now at 3000 nits, as the flames go back and forth, this is where you typically would have that dithering with streaming content that we've talked about. Nothing in this content here. Now when Jen is watching it, especially this next shot after the flames, she can tell me if it's there on the content. I highly doubt that it is. But I'll start off showing you where it showed up to FOMO and I when we did our initial G5 testing was in this content here. Now it's not in this shot, but it's when the light goes across. That coming out is where you'll see it. Here, nothing. Clear delineation between the black and the fruit. No crawling blacks, nothing like that. Now the crawling blacks and the dithering were very prominent on the LG CX, enough to where I took that TV back. So I am more allergic to it than most of you, and I definitely would bring the G5 back if it had the same issues. And you can see nothing here. You can see the black level is very deep. The contrast is perfect, very vibrant, no problems at all. Even if I raise the exposure, it would look fine, but I will show you what it looks like. Now, when the G5 first launched, it did show up looking like this in movies like Nosferatu. in Dolby Vision. You can see it there. And that light where it passes by, it's hard to capture it on camera, but I'll pause it and I'll show you in a moment. There it is. Now on the S90F, it's also there, not as bad, but that's kind of what it looks like. We noticed it also on the Bravia 8 Mark II, again, even less than this. Now both TVs are very new, but that's what you're seeing, a lot of that. Now on the CX, that literally was moving around. Now me, I still bought the TV knowing these issues may still have persisted, but I want to show you that if you are using this shot and you find it on your G5, you still need another TV to compare it to, which many of you don't have. It needs to be pretty bright to show the content. And then showing you on the S90F, if you look at here where some of the color banding that shows up, the TVs again are very bright, but on the S90F, it's there as well. Not as bright, or I should say as noticeable. G5 is brighter. But these are things they're gonna have to iron out. Now, I bought the G5, as I mentioned, even knowing these issues may have persisted. I am confident they will be worked out. However, you shouldn't be confident they'll be worked out. I'm confident as I know the engineers, I can send them the content as we have all done in the past, but as the consumer, you shouldn't be confident or purchase hoping that it's gonna be worked out. See the banding there in this shot, but it's also here. Now that's not the screen, that is just in this content. It's there on the S90F as well. I have them both in dynamic and vivid just to show it to you, to make it more pronounced. But that is no bueno. And that's why the title of the video is Perfectly Imperfect. As I'm watching this with you and doing this dialogue, I also have The Revenant playing next to me and it looks absolutely gorgeous. In streaming, judging streaming is always hard. If your connection's not great or whatever it is, you can see more issues. Now, I've gone through the good, the amazing, the gorgeous, the not so great. Here's where I really struggle. WebOS is fine. I don't love any of these operating systems, but going through it, it's very quick. It is so cluttered here. Finding the inputs are way at the end. The input button is gone on the remote, which I hate, because I love to be able to go back and forth quickly. Even if you have a shortcut of holding two buttons together, it's still more trouble than it needs to be. Being somebody who also has 4 HDMI 2.1 with 2 consoles, a PC, a Blu-ray player, I want to go quick in between those. Also, those inputs are not recognizing things either at all or as quickly as it should. Now you have a lot of these AI features which are awesome. The chat bot can answer questions. You have multi-view, all these great things, but it's very cluttered and disorganized. Now the TV manufacturers are banking on having their own streaming channels. As you see, LG has many of them. I don't use any of this, but many of you do, whether it's with Google, Tizen, or WebOS. Now, some of those features like SimpLink, where it wants to control your remote, I found to be obnoxious and interrupting, constantly asking me if I want to use the remote as my main remote. Even if I put block, it still decided to take control. The multi-view came on by itself at one point. And I do think the remote is laughable at this price point. I just do. Moving into Dolby Vision streaming, I didn't have any of the issues that we first saw, or I first saw when the G5 first came out. Moving into Spears and Munsell on Blu-ray with this flesh tones and skin tones, they look beautiful out of the box. Now I want to show you the flexibility of image in Dolby Vision. Though it's very bright and kind of hard to make out, you have several presets within Dolby Vision. In my opinion, LG has the best Dolby Vision implementation in the business. Having flexibility of image within Dolby Vision is very rare. Most manufacturers will have a bright room, dark room, maybe Dolby Vision IQ. The personalized picture wizard, which is very cool, I can also have in Dolby Vision. Then you have your standard, your vivid, your cinema, and also LG is the only one to have a true filmmaker mode within Dolby Vision. So usually you're very limited to how you can make Dolby Vision look. Not so with LG. You can have a bright, punchy Dolby Vision without it being into vivid or dynamic or anything like that. This is so helpful with Dolby Vision streaming that a lot of you find either washed out or too dark from other manufacturers. So having the flexibility of image in Dolby Vision is very important. Now, I may have mentioned this earlier, the audio is decent. It's nothing to write home about as long as you have the AI audio enabled. That is a big difference. But considering how slim the LG G5 is, the audio is good. You don't need to run out and grab a sound bar, a sound system right away. It's definitely loud enough. It's not super bassy or super warm sounding, but it does serve its purpose. What do you guys think of what you're seeing on screen? So before we get into the gaming portion, for me, the biggest takeaways from my very own G5, it's the brightest OLED I've ever seen. It's stunning. The vibrancy is off the charts. The HDR impact is absolutely ridiculous. It looks like the best mini LED that I've ever seen. Absolutely gorgeous. There are still some issues with dithering in some content that I feel will be ironed out. You may want to hang back and wait. Dolby Vision looks fantastic. And more important for me, why my use case is important is gaming. Specifically PC gaming. A lot of the other manufacturers are more than fine for console gaming. But with the LG G5, you have 4 HDMI 2.1 capable of 4K 165. Right now we have the PS5 Pro going. I'll show you the PC in a moment. But my biggest use case is gaming. And also the size. 83-inch gaming with this kind of brightness cannot be matched. Also with the contrast ratio of an OLED, it's incredible. Any mini LED at this size with this brightness will be washed out. Now the game optimizer is one of the best in the business from LG. My favorite features are the black equalizer, the ability to also lower the black level if HDR impact or if the HDR is too bright in a game or the game itself has raised blacks, you can fix that and lower that. So having that ability to lower the blacks is something a lot of other manufacturers do not do, including Samsung. The challenge with the game optimizer is while you have to go from one menu to another, they should have more in that game bar that you can access right off the bat. There are the different picture presets there. Very important to have different genre presets to make your game look either more accurate or crazy, bright or saturated, however you like it. Lot to go into here. We'll do a totally separate gaming video. Also, the game optimizer isn't the easiest thing to enable. You'll think it's on until you don't see that it's on. You have your tone mapping. HDIG is here, dynamic tone mapping, and you also have the ability with professional to adjust where the image clips. But the menus definitely need to be a little bit easier to jump in and out of. Though they're much better than they were on the C1, we had to go to the advanced options. It's definitely better, but could be improved, where it's easier to jump in and out. But the image is absolutely stunning. Now for me, and many for you, jumping into PC, Doom 2016, there's the stand, 165 Hertz. What's amazing with Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal is you can run them maxed. I have a 4090 GPU here. Even in nightmare settings, we're at 165 Hertz, and it is unbelievable. The muzzle flash from this gun is blinding in this game. You'll see it more in Doom Eternal, but it is so freaking smooth. I can never go back. But as a PC gamer, you want every frame imaginable. And Doom 2016 is SDR, but it runs beautifully. I hope the new Doom game is the same, but it's great for testing. If you have a great GPU, you'll be able to get this game running at a very high frame rate. But for me, gaming, and most notably PC gaming, especially in my home theater, is probably 80% of the content that I consume. And I didn't see any dithering in these games at all, even though you see me coming out of the black level here. Absolutely amazing. And look how bright that muzzle flash is. Unreal. Again, jaw on the floor. I will also have a more full in-depth gaming video for both PC and console. You'll also see the G5 go against every other TV in the room, namely the S90F QD OLED and the Bravi 8 Mark II. Now guys, I'm not going to get a 65-inch G5 for that. You're going to have to deal with the size difference between 83 and 65. I won't put it against the 880L that's in the other room, and I don't want to damage these TVs. But in closing, the LG G5 is mind-blowing. Technology-wise, HDR brightness, it really is unbelievably impressive, but it is perfectly imperfect. I'm okay with its flaws. Many of them I hope will be ironed out, and I'm fairly certain they will be, but you shouldn't go in it thinking that they will be. I can't promise they will be, but if they're not, I'll still be fine for what I use the LG G5 for. That specific use case is really important to convey to you guys in this video. And it stands alone being the only large OLED with this type of performance. We'll see the Samsung S95F in a few weeks at Value Electronics, which has the same panel, but it also has the matte screen, which I have no interest in owning. Also, in terms of gaming, I like the black equalizer and some of the things that LG has that Samsung doesn't. I don't use Game Motion Plus that much because I'm not a console gamer all that much, mostly PC. So things like this are important. But in closing, it's absolutely gorgeous, jaw-dropping. I really don't think you need anything brighter than what the G5 provides while you're still with OLED. And to me, it's really the swan song of OLED technology at its peak. Knowing RGB mini LEDs are on the rise and on their way, especially at much larger sizes. 83 inches is not really big enough for many of you, which I think is funny, but I want to go larger as well. But I do think RGB mini LEDs will take us there, making it a perfect time to buy the G5 right now. I'm Brian, this is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please consider liking and subscribing. Love you guys. Take care.
It's better to burn out than to fade away. There can be only one.